feelings!
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. I actively hope to anger people with every single video that I make. With the release of Persona 3 Reload approaching ever closer with each passing day, I've been thinking about the Persona series more. Well, even more than usual. It is my favorite game series ever, after all, or at least 3, 4, and 5 are. The original game doesn't look all that good to me, and I've never really had the chance to play either parts of number 2, but I adore the gameplay loops and stories of the games that I have played, even if they are a little goofy at times. You have to take the good with the bad, and Persona 3 Reload might be my most anticipated game in a long time, even more than Tears of the Kingdom. With Persona on the mind, I thought I would go back and explore all the things about the series that were so great for me, and I thought I would start with one of the best and worst characters from Persona 5, a man that I wouldn't change anything about. But man, I wish one side of him was played straight with another character at least. He's the one thing from Persona 5 that people cannot stop talking about years later. He creates such burning emotions that I cannot help but appreciate him. I'm talking about the one and only Goro Akechi.
I love this man.
You little shit!
Oh, and for the record, spoilers, duh. Anyway, I think it was obvious from the start who the traitor was in The Phantom Thieves. The trailers, art, and general direction made it obvious from the beginning. Even then, there was only one real option. God knows Atlas did not have the guts to make it someone's waifu, or the mascot character. That left the dudes. Ryuji, no way in hell that guy was going to betray me. And Yusuke would get distracted by wanting to paint something. So, there you go. The knowledge that Goro is a traitor from the start shapes how the player views him. Originally, there's nothing menacing about Akechi. He appears as Sei's assistant and then disappears until roughly after the second palace. From there, he appears as the ideal individual, someone the adults of the world want the young people to be: intelligent, hardworking, good-looking, obeys the system. He receives praise from everyone for seemingly being perfect, but the player knows that everyone is wearing some sort of mask in public in this game, so it's obvious that something about him is off. We just don't know what exactly it is yet. In a first blind playthrough, no one knows the rabbit hole they're about to go down. In the original game, Goro is unique, being the only party member whose confidant rank increases naturally. Yet another thing that gives away his status as the traitor. But in the Royale version, Joker needs to actually spend time with him to increase his rank. These events allow a peek into who Goro is. He's a man with a competitive streak. He works hard because he hates losing and being weak. He often does, says, and tries things simply because it's appropriate and expected of him. Because if he didn't follow trends and have this ideal aura around him, then he will not be accepted. Then he won't be able to work as a detective. Then he won't be praised. Then he won't be able to achieve his true goals. There's no doubt that Goro's confidant is better in Royale. His status as Joker's rival is far better cemented as they play games, go out for food, and simply discuss their thoughts. Throughout each interaction, you can see Akechi's suspicion of Joker. You can see a growing resentment, but also a desire for companionship. As Joker improves himself and his relationships throughout the game, Goro remains stagnant. Akechi is surpassed. All the while, Joker continues reaching out to him, being the only person who cares at all, despite seeing who Goro really is.
I hate you!
I find the relationship between Goro and Joker to be one of the most interesting in not only Persona 5, but in the entire series. For most of the characters, the writers are able to make the player feel certain ways about the confidants and social links. At each point in the story, the dynamics between Joker, or the main character, and his companions are easily defined. The rank system helps with that. It's hard not to grow to love most, if not all, of the confidants and social links. Even someone like Mishima grows from a pity friend who hangs around no matter what to someone Joker can actually like being around. But Goro is different. With how Akechi is presented, the players can feel every way possible about Akechi. Players can be annoyed with Goro's fictional and real-world popularity. They could hate him for what he's done. They could feel indifferent to him and only do his confidant because they have to get the best ending. They could view the confidant as a game of cat and mouse where the characters are trying to expose each other. They could view Akechi as a real friend. They could even view Goro with pity for not being able to show his true self to anyone but his greatest rival. In this case, the self-insert character plays a vital role to interpreting how Goro might feel about Joker.
It's a matter of interpretation.
The actual truth of their relationship is up to the player. This goes way beyond even the optional romances in the game. Are they really friends? Do they actually hate each other? Do you even ship it? That's fine. It's up to the player. And I think it's brilliantly done, like almost everything about Akechi's character, because beneath the handsome mask of perfection and following the rules society has placed on him, Goro is an angry, spiteful, sarcastic asshole. He has severe mental health issues brought about by his mother suffering, an abusive, manipulative father, and the manipulation of a god that treats him like a meat puppet. A lot of people argue that Akechi's plans were stupid and make no sense, and yes, I do agree with that, but that's the point. Goro is very smart, but he also has a blind spot for his father. He wants Shido dead, but desperately craves his father's approval. His motives conflict with each other, making him hate the fact that he's helping the person he despises the most. This causes his mind to sink even further into madness. Just like all of the Phantom Thieves, Akechi is someone that has been let down by the adults around him and society in general, but no, I do not think that excuses the fact that he has murdered many different people. Just because I like how a character is written doesn't mean that they shouldn't be in jail.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash!
Huh, Goro is more like Arthur Fleck than the actual Persona Joker. Isn't that funny? Anyway, all of this isn't even taking his persona into account. Despite being a wild card, he only has 2 persona, both of which come from his own arcana, representing his lack of bonds with anyone around him. He also doesn't have access to the Velvet Room. He doesn't know how confidants work. Could Joker be his one and only social link? Could that be the only source of strength that he has through bonds? Could it be confusing as all hell when he spends time with Joker and he hears voices and music in his head? Or is that just normal for this psycho? It could further emphasize why he desperately clings to the main character. Why, no matter what their actual relation is based on the player perspective, Akechi is willing to sacrifice himself for Joker in the end, when their relationship is at its strongest. Why he's willing to show his hateful, rude self to the real world and face the full consequences of his actions. The Royale Confidant in 3rd semester truly helps flesh out his character further, helping the character understand who he truly is and what he cares about. After everything he's gone through, Akechi is unwilling to live in any sort of deluded world ever again. Even more than Joker, he feels the conviction that reality needs to be faced, even if he doesn't exist in it anymore. In this sense, Goro represents being true to yourself in the real world more than any other character, even if he's the least moral and rudest member of your party. The one thing that I don't particularly like about Goro's character is that his role of questioning the actions of the Phantom Thieves is just dropped. I honestly thought that he had a great point throughout the game. Should the Phantom Thieves be allowed to brainwash people? Are they doing the right thing? From the outside, changing someone's heart sounds horrific. They're changing who someone fundamentally is. Is that okay because they're facing terrible people? Is it okay because society has failed to punish the antagonist for hurting other people? Does the end justify the means? You could argue that Sai plays the role, but with her distortion, she doesn't particularly care about the ethics of the situation. She cares about who gets promoted because of it. I would have loved for some character to play this role all the way through Persona 5. In comparison to the other games, the Phantom Thieves' actions are the most morally gray. They are technically doing an unethical act to punish a greater evil. I think that's a strength of Persona 5, but the ethical dilemma is dropped in the last section of the game. I think one confidant, disapproving of the Phantom Thieves but accepting that they're necessary, would go a long way to further emphasize the overall themes of the game.
I'm just saying.
I wouldn't say that Goro is my favorite character overall, far from it in fact, but I think the brilliance of his character writing, especially in Royale, is overlooked by his nonsensical ideas to punish his father, along with the pancake memes, I'll give you that. Akechi's scheme is not supposed to make any sense whatsoever. His daddy issues have driven him mad in every sense of the word. More than anyone else, he wears a mask to hide his real self. That and his lack of connections have caused him to drown in his own misery, steadily becoming a worse person. If not for the Phantom Thieves, he would have been a mere puppet to those with power over him, used and discarded. Much like the other protagonists in this game, there are other things about Royale in general which make him a better character. The fact that Futaba and Haru refuse to interact with him outside of Phantom Thief meetings. The fact that he's the black sheep no matter what happens. The fact that Atlas has shown a surprisingly large amount of respect for making sure that he is punished for the murders that he committed. There is a reason that Goro Akechi is the most talked about character in Persona 5. He might not be everyone's favorite, but he's simultaneously the best and worst character in the game. Simultaneously being this mask of perfection, but deep down being the worst thing possible that could have happened to each of the Phantom Thieves if they did not find each other. But at the same time, he failed to be the person who actually questions the ethics of the Phantom Thieves. So it's a mixed bag. You're welcome to disagree with me. That's fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Please consider giving me a like and subscribing. It would really help me out. And hey, do you like stories about an interconnected world? Then consider giving my LPCO books a try. They are all connected in some way, but you can jump in at any point. Unless it's a series, then you have to start at the beginning. But I got 3 books out right now and 3 coming next year. You will not have to wait long for content. Either way, thank you. I appreciate you. Do not despair.